Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're listening to this. Welcome back to Dudes of the Dead. This is season 9. We just had a brief debate. I think it's episode 6, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Okay, so we have an interesting one today. I'm going to be interested to see what Maniac has to say about today's episode. However, as always, before we get into today's episode, let's just have a listen to what we've been watching lately.
Yes. So am I going first?
Quick cuts. Yeah.
Being gentlemanly. All right. Well,
always.
I cheated again, which I know always appreciate. And I did a TV show, a fairly prominent one. And this is Stranger Things season 5, specifically maybe the finale. Did you watch this season?
Yep.
Are you a fan of the show?
Yes, not specifically this season, but yeah, the show.
Okay, well, I have a synopsis just in case there's like 3 people out there that haven't watched Stranger
exactly.
Things.
That's about it.
So the final season returns to Hawkins in 1987, where the town is under military quarantine, and the group reunites to face Vecna once and for all. As Eleven goes into hiding and the Upside Down begins to bleed further into reality, long-standing mysteries are resolved, and the story builds towards a large emotional conclusion. Created by Matt and Ross Duffer, starring Millie Bobby Brown as Eleven, David Harbour as Jim Hopper, and Winona Ryder as Joyce Byers, and of course all the other cast. This has an 8.4 on IMDb and an 82% Rotten Tomatoes score. I was pretty happy with the ending, actually. I feel like a lot of these big TV shows often build up so much hype, and then the finale happens and it doesn't deliver, and then fans are super pissed off. It's like Lost comes to mind. Were you ever a Lost fan? No, me neither. But
I don't get it at all.
Yeah, so I find a lot of these series, like Game of Thrones, again, is one where the last season ruined it for me, I would say, and I think a lot of people. But in this case, I feel like they did a pretty reasonable job of sticking the landing, having a satisfying conclusion. I think overall, I found Stranger Things to be just a bit too much, too long, where every episode is like full movie length, like an hour and a half. The finale was 2.5 hours, I think. And maybe it just got dragged out. But in totality, I feel like the show was satisfying. We are currently playing a Dungeons & Dragons campaign. We're playing the exact one they had at the end of the show.
Oh, nice.
So I kind of got excited about that.
That's pretty awesome.
Like a little bit more. It's like a gothic horror campaign about a vampire. So that was cool. But yeah, what'd you think of the ending?
I'm glad it's over.
Me too. Yeah, I think I was done. Honestly, a couple seasons beforehand.
Yeah. I think for me, it felt a little bit like it went off the rails in season 4. Like it was just way too outside, the Russian thing. And I think that was season 4. Anyway, so for me, that was kind of like, and then I just thought, okay, well, I'll watch so I see the end of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could have done with 3 seasons and been done.
I agree. Especially
because it seemed to me, and I haven't, tested this, but it seemed to me as they went on, the episodes seemed to get longer, and like maybe they did 8 or 10 every season, but it just seemed like it went further and further every time. So yeah, I'm kind of glad it's over.
Yeah, the nature of TV series, it seems like every time they feel this need to have like 10 episodes and they have to have like the full length. So I'm kind of appreciating, I just watched the new Game of Thrones, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And each episode is like half an hour long. I think it's 6 episodes, so you can wrap up the whole thing in 4 hours. And it was great. Like, it didn't feel this need to drag on. It told the story it wanted to tell, and it did it in a shorter amount of time. So, yeah, I think you and I are on the same page here. But did you find it wrapped up in a satisfying way?
Yeah, actually. I did like this about the wrap up that I don't know they could have done it any other way except have 11 leave. Right, because
spoilers.
Yeah, well, if you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just liked how they ended that and left the rest of them. It was, sad or whatever for the characters, but it's like I think that was the only way they could have done it.
Yeah, no, I think it was really satisfying. So there you go.
There you go. All right.
So your quick cut.
Okay, so my quick cut is I've been tempted by this a few times because the poster looks cool.
Stranger Chapter 3?
No, it's Boneface. 2025. I could not find a rating for this, but it seemed like a 14A. Like although actually having said that, it might actually be a higher rating than that. So anyway, an hour and 34. I also could not find a Rotten Tomatoes score for this, but IMDb was 4.7.
Woof.
Michael Donovan Horn is the director. Elena Sanchez, Jeremy London, and Ali Hart are the lead cast. So the summary: after a masked killer slaughters several campers, police track the murderer to a local diner and must discover who the actual killer is. So one fan, and I felt this kind of captured in a good way what the movie was like. One fan reviewed it as Agatha Christie meets Tobe Hooper.
I mean, as a premise, that sounds cool.
Exactly. So again, like we were talking about before, on paper, like you read that, you go, actually, that's a pretty cool premise. And the opening is actually a bit of a banger. Like it doesn't waste much time getting into it. But then the rest of the film is a bunch of characters in a diner with a sheriff and his deputy who won't let them leave because their conclusion is that there wasn't enough time for the killer to do anything but be in that diner.
So the opening act is a slasher film, and then the rest of it is an Agatha Christie mystery. I mean, that sounds kind of cool, but
yeah, it's just. I mean, my own notes were that it was full of genre tropes. And I think for the right mindset and the right group of people, it could be a fun watch. I just don't know. Like, I feel like it kind of ran out of steam as it got to the end. It was like, okay, almost like somebody had all these great ideas, for the beginning and the first act into the second act. And then after that, it was like,
I mean, those single settings, I think, are highly predicated on having really good writing and
100%
enough meat to be intrigued to have just a single setting like that. So is that where you feel like it faltered?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I think because so there's a famous movie with Henry Fonda called, and it's been remade I think a few times, but 12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
And it's a great film, but it's 12 jurors in a room. But you also have a killer cast. You have great writing.
Yes.
And so there's tension, there's things going on between characters. This one, once they get to the diner, there's all these,
There's a really great South Park episode about that.
I don't know. Sometimes you can't hear it, but I think you'll hear that one. Anyway, so yeah, once they get to the diner, then there's the veteran, Hell's Angels kind of guys, and there's a student, and there's a father, and it's just. I don't know. By the time they got into the diner, it was like, okay. So
you're saying Boneface is better than 12 Angry Men?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Okay. Just checking.
Okay, perfect. Anyway, so recommend, not really, but it could be a fun watch for a Friday night or something.
Not that I'm entirely keeping track, but I don't feel like you've had a good quick cut this whole
haven't,
season.
although I do have
I think you've disliked all of them.
I have a good one for next episode.
Oh, good. Okay,
yeah,
nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's how it rolls, right? Like you choose ones, you think, oh, that looks interesting. The premise is interesting.
Yeah.
And then
you're doing our audience a favor because you're watching them, so they don't have to. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. There you go.
Nice.
Are we ready for the main event?
Are.
Okay. So today's main feature is 2026's Send Help.
I'm going to be frank with you. You are smart. I know that you are great with numbers, but I just don't think you got it. As an executive, I see no value in you. Take your seats, you're a little bitch.
Have you tried making a distress signal or a bigger fire?
I was busy trying to keep us alive.
But getting us out of here, that should be your focus, not being Susie Homemaker over here.
What did you just say to me?
This is just shy of 2 hours, rated R. I would say psychological horror, dark comedy, and survival movie, all in mixed in. Sam Raimi is the director, of course, Evil Dead fame. The cast, just the two basic, because most of the film is two basic performers. Rachel McAdams is Linda Little, and Dylan O'Brien is Bradley Preston, and a very good douchebag. So When an employee and her insufferable boss become stranded on a deserted island, the only survivors of a plane crash, they must overcome past grievances and work together to make it out alive. Now, some of you might be thinking, hey, what are you doing? You just gave away the whole movie. Well, that's what the description is on IMDb, and that's what's in the trailers.
In the trailer, yeah.
So I'm not giving anything away. Now, critics. This was the critic consensus. Putting director Sam Raimi's penchant for diabolical mayhem to great use, Send Help doesn't need any assistant in thrills, thanks to a very game Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, along with a viciously clever script. Did you notice Bruce Campbell's cameo in this one?
I didn't. I had read that he, I guess they planted him in like
in
different
one of the
photos
pictures.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's hilarious.
Cool. No, I did not notice that at all.
Apparently, so I read this. Bruce Campbell makes a cameo through a photograph of Bradley's late father. So yeah, because his father dies in the movie and he takes over the family business.
Yeah.
So apparently Bruce Campbell's in a picture with his dad on
that's
the wall
awesome.
or something.
Just, I feel like we need to give a shout out to our coworker, Mark Johnson, who is a massive Survivor fan. And there's a lot of Survivor references in this movie.
Are.
And speaking of cameos, apparently, have you ever watched Survivor?
No, never.
Okay. So they wanted to get the host of Survivor, Jeff Probst, to actually have a cameo in the film, but he was actually filming Survivor at the time, so he couldn't be on it. But
what are you going to do?
I kind of, we do watch it with our family, so I appreciated some of the Survivor.
Yeah, I'm sure there's Easter eggs there. Yeah, for sure. So before we jump into it, what was your general feeling about the film?
Yeah, I honestly love this film.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Exactly. Like, I think with Sam Raimi, he just has this like perfect combination of like slapstick comedy, dark humor, really gross.
Yeah.
Like he's this felt like the spiritual successor to Drag Me to Hell.
Yes, I can see that.
Because it's lighter and more comedic, I think, than like the Evil Dead films. And it had a similar tone. Like there's some awkward romance, just like you had with Justin Long in Drag Me to Hell. It's not so much gory as it is gross.
Yes.
Like the vomiting and like just gross thing, like body horror, but not in like a really gory, bloody way, but more in like other bodily functions and like just gross. I mean, there's not some gore, but Drag Me to Hell also is like that. And then in Drag Me to Hell, they have like the crazy scene with the goat. Yes. And this one, they have a crazy scene with a wild boar.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things because most of his films are tied to like the Evil Dead franchise, like Army of Darkness or Evil Dead 1 and 2. Whereas like Drag Me to Hell was a one-off and this was a one-off, but they tonally felt kind of similar to me. And I love Drag Me to Hell. So it kind of gave me that similar kind of vibe. And I also really liked just being on a tropical island, like having a bright, beautiful color palette, which is really different than a lot of horror. So yeah, I was a big fan of this, despite the terrible CG on the boar.
Yeah.
And this film, it actually made logical sense for the protagonist to fight a wild boar, unlike Stranger Things 2. I was like, oh, that's funny. This is the second horror movie this year I've seen where the protagonist fights a wild boar, but in this movie, it makes perfect sense.
And it's not actually a movie called Boar, which I have watched.
Yeah, I never actually watched that one yet.
No, I agree 100%. Sam Raimi has this like wonderful balance of, comedy and horror, and it seems to me that he can turn that on a dime. Like it might be sort of a funny-ish scene, and then it kind of turns really quickly to either something, darker or something more horror related. I actually liked this better the second time.
Because you've watched it twice.
I watched it in theaters and then I rewatched it yesterday, and it was, it was just a ton of fun. And even though I knew what was coming, part of the joy for me of watching a movie the second time, particularly one that I think is worth it, is that you start to see things that you didn't see, or because you kind of know where it's going, you're focused on the small elements instead of the big plot picture.
Except for Bruce Campbell's cameo.
Yeah, exactly. I
wonder if because I think knowing it's a Sam Raimi film, I go into it with certain expectations.
Yes.
So I'm kind of mentally prepared for like some of the wacky humor and the slapstick stuff. I could see maybe if you weren't a Sam Raimi fan, you went into this expecting a horror film, that maybe you would be caught off guard or taken aback by the tone. But I find at least knowing Sam Raimi, I just prepare for that and I like that and I can accept that. But had I gone into this not knowing that, then maybe it would have. It's not fair to appreciate it in one case and not in another.
Yeah.
But I think expectation maybe has a little bit of a role to play with him.
Yeah, and I think expectation has a role to play in how we label film, because we've talked about this a few times, especially with horror, because you've got these, especially in the last couple of years, you've had a real genre blend of in the horror space. So yeah, to say this is a horror film, there's a lot of quite funny scenes, and it's like, yes, it is a horror film, but it isn't a horror film as well, right? So,
and again, the wife test, like my wife came in, and she was actually kind of, oh, this one seems pretty good. Like, I think you'd actually like this one, because it has more humor and elements of, not to spoil the ending, but elements of romance. There's a very complicated relationship between the two protagonists, which is kind of fun to follow.
Yes, and actually, so we can get into that. I felt like he did a really good job of establishing Linda's character early on, but then as the movie progresses, we see elements of her character that we didn't see earlier start to emerge.
Yes,
and she's not as weak and as much of a pushover as we're led to believe in the beginning of the film. And even though there's hints, right, that she's super smart and she kind of keeps this company going, certainly Bradley underestimates her drastically in the film, right?
And Rachel McAdams was really good. And I guess Sam Raimi had worked with her on Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
But he felt bad because she had a really minor role and he really liked working with her. So he wanted to make a film where he could feature her.
Yeah.
So I mean, she really shines in this film.
Oh, 100%. I said, like, O'Brien is good.
He does play a very good douchebag, as he said.
But she steals the show. Yeah. 100%. And even, like, I have a note to myself, she was a standout for me because of the transformation from, office geek to warrior goddess as the film progresses.
Well, it's funny too, like watching Survivor and knowing people who've actually applied for the show. But your ability to make shelter and your ability to find food, and you have to be able to make fire. So it made perfect logical sense that she could do all of these things because she was really wanting to go on Survivor, and they play, and that she made her audition tape, which plays into the plot. But that really helped explain how she was able to thrive out there, which is realistic. If you were actually wanting to go on the show Survivor, you would probably learn those things. So I thought that tied in really nicely.
Yes, I agree.
In a logical way.
I really liked early in the film, her talking to her bird, because I thought it was a clever way to do a narrative dump.
That's cool. Actually, I didn't pick up on that.
Because she's talking, but she's also revealing things about herself.
That's right.
And what her ambitions are. And that also sets up the conflict, because the father has told her that she will be, given an opportunity to be VP of the company. And of course, it's a real bro session when the son takes over.
Yeah.
And so it's a really interesting, I thought a really interesting and kind of fun way to give us all the information, but not do it in ways that people normally do it, like through conversation or whatever. So
that's a great point.
Yeah. It was just, I mean, it's funny as well. It's mildly funny. It's this kind of like librarian type character talking to her bird as she makes her tuna sandwiches, right?
Yeah. His style of horror comedy, I find, really works for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, it's getting that balance between how much comedy and how much horror, but just his blend is so unique. But it's just really, I think, fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I struggle to imagine anyone not having fun with his films.
That's right. Maybe as long as you're not expecting like a really intense dark horror film. Yeah.
Like, I mean, because we feel the same way about Drag Me to Hell. Like, that is so good and so funny in some parts, but quite scary in other parts. And it's just a really fun ride, what he does with the characters.
And Drag Me to Hell's amazing too, because it's also quite tame. Like, I think it's rated PG-13.
Yeah.
Like, I've shown that to students. And, if someone was to call you out on it, actually, there's nothing in there. There's not really any swearing. There's not really any gore. It's just kind of like slapstick, kind of gross stuff, but nothing inappropriate, really. So, yeah. This one, I think, gets a little edgier in terms of the gore.
I mean, there were little things to me, like I talked about him playing a douchebag. And for me, there were little things like he has no socks in his loafers. Like there's those little hints, like his shirt's unbuttoned a little bit too far, that I found pretty subtle, but being the age I am, it's like, yeah, I've seen all of this. I've actually worn loafers with no socks, but I didn't maintain that trend. Anyway.
And just the juxtaposition of like, when they're going to build their shelter and she's making this amazing structure that's like comfortable and he's just like putting two sticks together and they fall over and he's like just the most ridiculous, someone who had never been outdoors ever, which is probably pretty realistic for someone who hadn't done that.
Absolutely.
But they do it in such a way that it's really hilarious and fun to watch.
Well, I loved what I really appreciated is Raimi manages to carry over a little bit of the feel of Act One until, what's his name? O'Brien, his character says early on after they're, on the beach, and he says, "Watch how you speak to me. You work for me."
Yes.
And that's kind of, to me, when I watched the film a second time yesterday, it's like, you can see that's where she breaks. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's what it's going to be. So I love.
And he realizes he's lost all of his authority over her and the tables have really turned. And that's a fun evolution to watch.
Yeah. I think that as much as anything makes it a super interesting, like sort of Act 2, Act 3 watch, because after that switch in her head, which is, I think she might have been thinking along those lines already, but you can see it in the plane ride as well, where they're, she's kind of the butt of their jokes.
Yes.
And she's working on something and then she deletes it. And it's like, okay, she's made up her mind that she's not going to be walked on anymore.
Yeah.
And then when they're on the beach and he says that, it's just like, I loved how that speaks to like his entitlement and his privilege. He thinks even on a deserted beach somewhere, she's going to listen to him because he's her boss.
Yeah. And she had just saved his life and brought him back and given him food. He's like, "What are you doing out here? Just playing homemaker? Like, go do something productive." Exactly. And she's like, "Excuse me?" And it's just, it fits with their characters and the juxtaposition, how they both evolve, just made this film really unique and fun to watch. Like, he nailed both of those characters, and how their relationship evolves throughout the film was just really engaging.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I really loved how I think made note of it in the first time I watched it, but this time it was like, it was so obvious to me that she's always one step ahead of him.
Totally.
And anticipates his next move every time.
Because she is always smart. Like, even in the office.
Oh, 100%.
She's the smartest one in the room, but she doesn't have the power to leverage it. Whereas in this case, she can actually leverage it.
And what's her department is something in strategy.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because it was funny. She mentions it a couple of times when he like questions her and she goes, whatever it was, and strategy. Like, she thinks this way all the time, right?
Did you? And I also liked, like, there's definitely some social commentary in here. I think it's clear, but I think it logically fits within the narrative that they're weaving in, and it didn't feel heavy-handed to me.
No, it didn't to me.
So I think that's usually the most effective form of social commentary, when it's there's a clear reason for it. It's woven into the plot line, woven into the characters in like a natural way, but never feels preachy or over the top. Yeah. So I think they kind of nailed that part as well.
I mean, this is, it feels a little bit sad to me that this reminds me of movies like 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton. And you were barely born, I think, when that one came out.
I'm aware of it, but I've not seen it.
So, I mean, the fact that we've got movies that are 40, 50, even probably more years old that dealt with exactly the same issue, it to me just seems like a sad commentary on society. It's like we haven't really gone past the, sort of corporate culture and the idea that even you can have a super, bright woman, but you're not going to reward her with promotion and all the rest of it. Because there's no doubt that still happens. So to me, it didn't detract. I'm just saying, to me, that's the part of the social commentary.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've come a long way, but it's not there yet for sure. Now, 9 to 5, not to go on a tangent. So there's her song, right? Working 9 to 5. Was that based from the movie, or did the movie come out of the song, or do you know how those two things are?
As far as I
interconnected?
remember, she was, like many times, if you have a musical career and you're in a film, they often ask you to write something for the film.
Okay.
As far as I know, she wrote that for the film.
For the film. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
I know the song, but I didn't know the film. So
yeah, because the song, I mean, I can't imagine that she wrote the song and they based the movie on the song,
Right.
because some of the things in the song
Relate to
actually
the movie.
happen in the movie,
Okay,
right?
cool.
So I think it happened after. I wanted to talk a little bit, because you answered actually one of my questions, which was how is this sort of the consummate Sam Raimi film?
Yeah.
So that's been answered. But what did anything stand out for you in terms of the humor? Like, were there some things where you thought, oh, that's really good?
the whole thing, honestly, like he uses different types of humor too. Like there's the he always has his like body horror, like so over the top. It's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Like when the stick goes through the boar and like comes out its eye and its eyeball is sticking out. But it's so over the top, it's hilarious, right? You
Yes.
can't help but laugh. Or when like they're fighting at one point, maybe it's a spoiler, but
Yeah, I would save those for the
okay,
spoilers,
some
I
of the
think.
things that are happening, so just the way the violence that
Yes.
he portrays violence, I always laugh. There's the scene from Drag Me to Hell when they're fighting in the car with that
Oh,
old
yes.
lady.
Yeah.
And she like, I don't know, sucks on his chin or licks and then vomits stuff. It's just like, it's so gross and over the top, but it's so hilarious at the same time. I feel like almost Sam Raimi alone is able to do that reliably and consistently with like just gross things that are hilarious.
Well, totally. There's that scene, with Bruce Campbell and the chainsaw.
yeah.
And just that whole sequence, even though it's so gross and it's so over the top, and then he kind of puts the cherry on top when he says groovy, and he just has a unique way of blending comedy with something horrific to look at.
Yeah, and again, I think like the juxtaposition of like how she is doing on the island and how he is doing on
Yes.
the island, and she's just like kicking ass and doing everything to like the degree, and he's just struggling to do anything coherent. And he like when he goes to fill the coconut with the palm, and they had it artificial where like the weather's pouring rain, then as soon as he does that,
Yeah.
it immediately stops in a very unrealistic but comedic way.
Yeah, yeah.
So he just has good timing and sense, and it never feels, at least for me, like I know some people struggle with horror comedy where the comedy ruins it,
Yes.
but for me, the comedy enhances it. And he's able to do enough other horrific things where it just all works well. I think he just has a good gut for
Absolutely.
conveying those different things, but in a way that works.
And this is not new to us, but many people smarter than I have talked about the close proximity of horror and comedy, because it's all about timing, right? So, and I think that's where Raimi does it better than a lot of directors, because he has a almost unerring instinct for when is the right time to throw in a dash of comedy and when's the right time to hold that back and
That's
have
right.
the horror.
And to his credit, like I think the reason it works is it's not all yucks though. Like he does develop
Absolutely.
good characters. And there's a scene where they're like sitting around a fire and talking, and he opens up about his background.
Yes.
And you do like, despite him being a huge douchebag, you start to feel for him and
Yeah.
empathize with his background. And same with her. Like there's enough character development that it's not just, you could easily just lean into slapstick humor without having the
Yeah.
well-developed characters, and that would make it feel shallow. But he has rich characters. He has good gore. He has a good plot, good acting from his performers. And then, yeah, just all is very elevated and works really well in a unique way.
I mean, what he also has working for him is basically I did time it yesterday. So we're in the office and all that stuff until about the 20-minute mark, the 19-minute mark. And then the rest of it is basically two people.
Yeah,
And Drag Me to Hell is similar, right? It's Justin Long and his girlfriend.
exactly.
And so that does allow you to really dig into those characters and develop those personalities, as opposed to, having 6 or 8 or whatever it is, cast members that you have to develop. Once we get past, once he sets the stage for who these people are, then he throws them together on an island and we see things develop.
And yet their protagonists in both cases are flawed. and are arguably doing things that are maybe morally questionable, but
Absolutely.
so they're also rich and complex characters. It's not just like, oh yeah, the innocent good girl and like the douchey bad guy. Like when you think about it on a moral level, it's possible that she's actually more evil than him in some ways.
In some ways,
even though she's a better person. Like I like the moral complexity and some of the gray area that he plays with too. So it's also rich in that regard.
Yeah, I do. I noticed that, and I do like how there's some darkness to her character as well.
Totally,
she's not just a Pollyanna who's hoping for the best.
Like arguably, she's maybe even the villain.
You could make that. You could make that argument,
which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Even though her personality is far more appealing, but.
Yeah. Definitely the tables are turned in almost every way when they hit the island.
Yeah. And we'll get into that in the spoilers, obviously, but.
Yeah.
Danny Elfman, who did the score, who works with Sam Raimi.
Oh, I never thought to look at that.
Always does a good job.
Yeah.
He did the Fable soundtracks, which I really like. But yeah, the music I think was good, but not in a way that it felt. Did you notice it much?
Well, it's funny because when I went back and rewatched, I was particularly interested in the music. And yeah, I felt like it enhanced without getting in the way.
Agreed.
It was like adventure style music or like the caper film kind of thing. So it enhanced those scenes, but then it kind of fell to the background, right?
For sure. Yeah, it wasn't obtrusive. And they actually weave in the Survivor theme there at one point when she's watching.
Oh, see, I didn't. Yeah, okay, there you go.
Oh, yeah, no, there's some serious. I mean, it wasn't surprising to me that they wanted Jeff Probst to be in it because they make explicit Survivor references many times. So that was kind of neat.
And they're, the other thing is the one way or another at the end of the film.
That's right.
I mean, we've noticed this in a few films, and this is something that I think maybe some directors don't consider enough is what impact. Like I know that they spend time thinking about sound design and all the rest of it. So sometimes maybe they just don't hit the mark. But I love the fact that in a movie like this, which is, predicated on sort of a comedic look at a terrible situation, they throw in humor in the music as well.
Yeah.
And quite a few films, especially horror comedies, do that to great effect, I think.
I think we were talking about that in Begonia a bit too.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you have any niggles then? Anything you didn't like about it?
I actually did not. I did not have anything that I didn't like. I mean, I'm usually the one who complains about runtime, but I actually thought it was well paced, and I didn't notice that I was like, oh, how much longer is this?
No, it's so engaging that I didn't feel that either.
Exactly.
The only niggle for me, which can you guess what it was?
The CG board.
Yeah. But I almost think he's doing it intentionally. Like I think he almost wants that kind of ridiculous feel.
Oh yeah, I never thought of that, but
it's bad. Like I thought the CG on the board was bad. But I almost feel like with Sam Raimi, he's trying to make it kind of goofy. So I almost wonder, and he did the same thing with the goat, I think, in Drag Me to Hell, where it's a bit over the top ridiculous. I think the goat gets possessed and starts talking.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. But anyway, so my one niggle would be the CG on the board looks bad, but didn't detract overall.
No, I mean, and because I don't have the same sensitivity, that didn't bother me in the least. So it was cool that it's interesting. I hadn't considered that he would do that deliberately, but I can actually see that.
Yeah.
Like him going, okay, well, because for sure he had the budget and he's got the experience to do it differently if he wanted to. So the idea that he chose to do it that way, I think there's some deliberate playing with the audience there. For sure.
I wonder. There is definitely some spoilery things in this film. Do you want to get to spoilers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Or is there anything else you want to discuss first?
I don't think so. We talked about music performances. I mean, for the visual effects, maybe I'll wait until spoilers because there's something about the plane ride that I wanted to talk about. But but the tropical setting is lovely, and again, it's that idea of the discrepancy between kind of what you're seeing and the mood of the piece is really interesting too, because you got this beautiful tropical island and all this, whatever, fresh fruit, fresh fish, fresh boar. And, but then you've also got this, dynamic between the two characters where they're sussing each other out. They're not sure if they can trust one another. They're not sure how much to say or how much to do. So I liked that juxtaposition as well between this beautiful scenery and this nastiness going on between these two people.
Do you recommend it to our audience?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, particularly if you're not like a gore hound or whatever, I think this would sit really well with a lot of people who don't normally consider themselves horror fans. It's got enough balance, I think.
Yeah, I think this is quite accessible. For sure. I think this is one of my favorite films of the year so far, 2026. I love Drag Me to Hell, and this gave me very similar vibes.
Totally.
I think you just have to go in with the right expectations. So be prepared for some weird slapstick humor and some over-the-top bits. So if you're expecting just a straight horror film, if you've not seen Sam Raimi's work before, you just have to go in being okay with that different tone. But if you can just kind of let it happen and relax and enjoy it, it's a really fun movie.
And yeah, I totally agree. And I think if you're Sam Raimi fanness is you've seen the first Evil Dead, this is not a possession film. This is not anywhere in that realm. It's definitely survival horror. And there's lots of movies in that genre, but then you throw in the comedy and it makes it completely different. It's not as bleak as something like Revenant.
Yeah.
Right.
He's got like a huge cult following and people love him, but I know people also who've tried to watch Evil Dead were like, that was really weird. Like, what's with all this? Like the slapstick comedy thing, I think does turn some people off who are horror fans who like the more straight horror. So, but yeah.
I think he's developed over time though, some subtlety. So if you go back and watch Evil Dead, it's kind of like slap your face, right? Whereas this is much more subtle, I think. So two thumbs up for that for sure.
Indeed.
And now into spoilers.
Yep.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert!
I just love that it reminded me of Deadpool, like the slow motion scene in the plane where it's starting to crash. And well, it felt like they slowed it down. Actually, maybe they didn't, but so the plane gets blown out. People are getting sucked out of the plane. And the one other bro who's, friends with the new president of the company is getting sucked out of the plane, and he grabs onto her and he said, give me your seat. And he starts to choke her, and she finally fumbles and grabs a fork and sticks it in his hand. And then he goes out of the plane, but his tie gets stuck and he's like whacking against
Sam Raimi,
her window. And all she does is like pull the block. It's so awesomely timed and done. Like she doesn't react to it. She's just like, oh, thank God. She like pulls her blind down and he's smacking against the window. It was a really cool set piece, I thought.
And I really appreciate that he carries over that sensibility from his Evil Dead days.
Yeah.
Like I was referring earlier, like just the body horror. So there's a scene where they're fighting each other at the end, and he's like eye gouging her. And you can see her eyeball like push, like it looks ridiculous, but it's also just so funny and just so Sam Raimi. And then for the rest of the film, like her eye is all like bruised and bloody, but I feel like only he does things in that way and kind of gets away with it.
I'd love to know. I really liked the scene because it reminded me of the film Hard Candy.
Oh yeah,
where she gives him a neurotoxin, so he's like immobilized, and she leads him to believe that she's going to castrate him.
I love that scene.
And yeah, it's just how Rachel McAdams pulls that off, and you can see it was so great. O'Brien's acting in that one as well.
His performance is very good.
Yeah, and I mean, because you can see he's kind of like and it's all eye acting because he can't
feel anything in his body, and he can only look forward. And yeah, you think that he's being castrated. Yeah.
And even, I mean, I love because Sam Raimi is so good with blood too. I love the squirt of blood come on her face and you can see him kind of like, ooh, and she pulls out the rat, and she's just like, I just thought it was so well done and kind of like an expression of her power over him. It's like, I will always know more than you. And in that scene particularly, because he's just in the previous scene poisoned her, tried to make a raft and escape. His raft is done in like 10 seconds, and he comes back on the beach. She saves him again and then pukes on his face while she's
That was actually, that I didn't want to spoil that part, but for humor.
Oh man, it was so, we are in the spoiler section, so.
Yeah, and that's so Sam Raimi too. Like a lot of directors don't use vomit, but he's very good at the vomit. She's just like openly puking into his mouth. Yeah, it was
But then the next scene when she gives him the neurotoxin, it's so good because she says to him,
Don't mistake my kindness for weakness.
That's the best line I think in the film. But she says to him like, "Oh, sorry, I forgot to teach you the double lashing for and just things like that. It's like it's just a reminder to us, but also to him. It's like I will always know more than you, and I kind of determine how much I teach you
because she's intentionally withholding information.
Yes, exactly.
So basically, like the cool thing about the film is like her life in the office is terrible.
Yeah.
She's not a happy person and she doesn't like her work environment and she loves being on the island.
Yes.
And the power and like her agency and her ability to survive. And so she gets to this point where like he wants to be rescued, but she wants to live out there forever. And I do think genuinely, did you get the sense that she was romantically interested in him at a point?
At one point in the film, yeah. I think as their characters start to emerge, and particularly when they're vulnerable with one another, I think she, begins to, I think she's always maybe had a little bit of a feeling for him because he's a good looking, guy or whatever. And he could, he doesn't take notice of her, but then Sam Raimi does the Sam Raimi thing, and there's a scene like they do this extreme close up on some tuna salad and mayonnaise on her lip, and you see his reaction, and she doesn't realize it, and all the rest of it, and then he gets one of his underlings to smell what's on his hand. It was just so good. I just really liked how even though she was competent at work, there was an emphasis on her weakness and awkwardness in terms of office politics.
Right.
But then I just love that transition of her becoming more confident and her kind of stepping into her power when they get onto the island. Like, to me, that was a really
You
satisfying.
can see it in her physically.
Absolutely.
Like, she's kind of, I don't know, meek and like in on herself. And then she gets more confident. Her shoulders
100%.
go back. She looks more glowing. Her hair is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene.
Which ironically you think would be the opposite if you were stranded on a desert island. Which ends up looking better than she did when you have, everything at your fingertips. For sure.
She lets her hair down at one point and all the rest. Like, I think.
But he looks more disheveled.
Yes.
So even in their physical appearance mirrors their power relationship, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought there was a lot of thought that went into that. I mean, how did you like the ending? What did you think about it?
It was fine. Yeah. Like maybe I was which part of it? The very ending or the twist?
Well, we can talk about the twist, but after
Did you see the twist coming?
I suspected, not the golf club, but I suspected with the shotgun.
Okay.
That she had planned something because she would not let herself get into that scenario.
Yeah. So I knew she wanted to stay on the island. And then when she takes him up and when she says like, don't go over there because you're going to get like, I don't know, poison ivy.
Yeah. I think she said there were poison bushes or whatever.
At that point, I'm like, okay, there must be like civilization or something over there because we see the boat come around that one time. So I assumed at this point she's lying to him to make sure that he doesn't discover that there actually is civilization on their island. And then when they reveal it, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I really, the first time I watched the film, I was like, I didn't suspect that.
Okay.
At the end, when they're kind of fighting or whatever, I suspected she would turn the tables on him because he doesn't, I mean, at least how I interpreted the film, he's not bright enough to figure out what she's doing.
That's right.
And so she turns the tables on him pretty quickly. And he's seems to me like he's easily manipulated.
And he even admits it, right? He's like, yeah, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's just almost uncomfortable how many times he goes to screw her over, but then has to come back and like grovel and beg to get back into her good graces. And then it happens again.
Yeah.
And then it happens again. Like with the raft thing, and then he ends up back there. It's like, oh, this is so awkward. Like that awkwardness, I felt uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I loved how, again, he turns the tables because when in Act 1, it's her awkwardness that makes me cringe. And then as the film progresses, just like their physical appearance shifts, the awkwardness shifts because who's in power changes. Right?
Actually, so this film actually reminded me a lot of Misery because I felt like there's almost a similar dynamic between you have a guy who is physically disabled and is dependent on her to look after him, even though in Misery, she is the villain. And in this fun, he is sort of villain. But on the other hand, what she's doing is kind of, when you think about it, quite villainous. And both of them, I think Kathy Bates' character, she's getting the thing that she always wanted, right? She loves Paul Sheldon.
Yeah.
her dream has come true. And for this girl, like her dream was to be on Survivor.
Yeah, true.
And so they're both kind of she doesn't want Paul Sheldon to leave, just like she doesn't want the fantasy on the island to end.
Yeah.
So I felt like there was a lot of parallels between Misery and this film. And I almost wonder if there was any inspiration there. But the power dynamic part, the relationship between like an injured male and a caretaker female, and the idea that both of the women are kind of living their fantasies and don't want it to end at the suffering and the, I guess to the detriment of their patient.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, but I can totally see it.
And one is in winter and one is in paradise, tropical paradise. Like there was enough parallels at one point. Like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Misery.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting connection. I totally see it once you.
And I don't know if that was intentional or just subconscious or unintentional.
Yeah. Okay, I can buy that.
Which brings me to the point.
Yeah.
Is she the villain of the film then?
I totally get what you're saying. I don't see her as a villain. I see her as being a powerful woman who has overcome these odds and is just getting payback for years of abuse.
Right. Okay. So it's justified.
I feel like it's justified. And well, she doesn't. She's
kind of holding him prisoner in some ways.
She is. Yeah. And I mean, I also like how they moved the plot to the point.
And she murders his wife.
I was just going to say, so finally, so there's one boat that comes around and she hides and that boat goes away. And then there's another boat that comes around with his fiance or whatever with this like huge, ridiculous engagement ring.
Yeah. And like he's an ass, but she is a murderer and she's arguably holding him prisoner and capturing against his will. But that's what's kind of cool about the film, I think, because you are totally sympathetic with her and you're on her side. Yet, if you were to truly like take an honest, like ethical breakdown of what they do in the film, arguably she's probably the bigger villain.
Yeah, I mean, I could see making that point, right? Where sure, he's maybe verbally abusing her, emotionally abusing her, particularly at the office, but even on the island.
Like if I'm a nice person, you're a dick to me, but then I like kill your family and take you hostage. Are you the worst person or am I the worst person?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of who's the comedian? I can't remember his first name, Mulaney. And he's got this joke about, I don't know if you've seen it, but he's got this little routine where he says, so I was doing a special and I wrote a midget joke and I got called into the studio offices and they're like, you need to take this joke out. And he's like, well, why? And he goes, well, that the exec says, well, it's kind of like the N-word. It's just as bad. And he goes, no, I don't think so because the N-word we don't even say. Midget we can say. So I'm pretty sure it's not as bad as the N-word. So it kind of reminds me of that. It's like, yeah, he does these terrible things, but he hasn't killed her budgie or, whatever. Yeah, so I totally get it. I get what you're saying. But
and the whole reveal of that I thought was well done too.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming back to what you said is that we sympathize with her character.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're a douchey, entitled, privileged white guy, then you probably don't.
And even like her survivor skills get called into question because you realize she's sort of been cheating because she's actually been taking stuff from the house, right? Yeah. So you get the illusion that it's all of this has been done by her survivor skills.
Yes.
But in reality, she's been like taking food and taking tools and stuff from the house on the other side of the island. So it's a complicated. This would be a good one to watch again, actually. It's very rich for a movie that just seems like it's a slapstick horror comedy.
Yes. Like you think this genre is going to be a throwaway, but there's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Like we're at 50 minutes and just talking about like the moral complexity and the juxtaposition of the characters. And like, it's a very rich film actually, which on its surface seems like it's very simple.
Yeah, 100%. Even things like, I didn't even think about it until the second time through when I didn't catch this line in the first time I watched it, but when she's saying, yeah, a knife washing up on the shore, like, give your head a shake. Like, think about all the things that I did.
Which I thought from a plane crash maybe would be conceivable, but maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, unless it was, I think I have a camping knife that's specifically designed to float.
Right.
But if it's not,
that's true.
Then it's not going to float and wash up on shore, right?
Fair point.
Anyway, So let's talk about the ending. So she turns the tables, and I love this transition. It's absolutely fantastic. Where
Did any part of you buy it when she's like, I love you, and he's like, I love you too? Did you think for a second that maybe they just end up together and live on the island, or did you like, no,
no, absolutely not, because they establish his character all throughout the film as being duplicitous.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt, even the first time I watched it, that she knows enough about him to know that he's just putting
So they're
her
both
on.
being insincere.
100%.
They're both manipulating each other, basically. Yeah.
Or trying to. Right. And then, he gets the shotgun away from her. And it's just such a good scene, because she's like looking at him, and you see this in movies a lot, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, I know. I was just rewatched Die Hard because I hadn't seen it in years, and there's a very similar thing where he gives, Hans is pretending to be an American, and he gives him the gun, and then Hans turns it on and click, and he's like, "What do you think I am, an idiot? Like, I'm not going to give you a gun."
Yeah, despite him having all the power in their corporate relationship, him being the stronger one, she's able to outwit and outplay, which is kind of the Survivor tagline, like the entire movie, which is great.
And then I also like the fact that he, even though it's a horror film, he doesn't show at the very end, she overcomes him with a golf club, and what happens, but he doesn't show you what happens. Right. And it's like, perfect. You don't need to see that.
Totally.
Because so he does this transition, which is awesome, from, the male character being on the floor, and she's already hit him multiple times with the golf club, but then she's going to whack him in the head. And then the transition is to her playing golf and teeing off. And it was just such a lovely transition, I thought. And then of course, that's when the, I'm going to get you comes in, and she's driving away with her budgie and all the rest of it.
It was very just satisfying. Yeah. Like it wasn't, I was maybe thought there'd be more of a twist or like a dark kind of finish to it. Like it was just a clean, satisfying ending. Yeah, it just, especially after all the back and forth, it just gave me a sense of closure. It's like, awesome. She has overcome the odds, and she is a successful woman now. And she's, got rid of this guy. Now, sometimes though, when you have those like really despicable characters in a film like this, it could be funny just to see him get mutilated in just the most over the top horrific way, which can be kind of cathartic for the audience. But he took the high road and just went for the clever finish with the golf shot.
I think he gives you some of that.
He does.
Because she whacks him a couple of good ones with the golf club. Yeah. Because I certainly felt the one where she hits him in the stomach.
Yeah. He's just able to go so over the top with his gore that I thought maybe he would end up.
It was a good opportunity, and he shows restraint there.
And the audience would be on board for it, I think.
Oh, I think so.
But yeah, her vomiting in his mouth repeatedly was, pretty satisfying. So
I'm not sure what happened here. I don't know if something happened with the card. Is it still
recording just in a menu?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So we can come back to this.
Yeah. I mean, this is just, the most satisfying film maybe I've watched in a while.
Yeah. Especially because we talked about this a couple of times. I was so stoked for 2026. And up until now, there haven't been a lot of films that have really interested me.
It's been a bit of a slow start. Yeah. But I agree. This finally things are picking up.
It does seem so. Like,
which is typical, usually January, February.
Yeah. This approaching the spring into summer, that's when things start heating up, getting into, fall and stuff. So hopefully the really good films will be in the second
Twisted
half.
Was really good, but.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, so I love Evil Dead. And all the Evil Dead films. I kind of hope Sam Raimi though keeps doing these kind of one-offs.
Yeah.
Because I think it's kind of fun to see his style in different settings and contexts. Like,
I agree.
You would never get, a weird, awkward romantic comedy on a tropical island in the Evil Dead franchise. Yeah. But here, it made for just a really refreshing, fresh take for a film. So yeah, hopefully Sam Raimi can do some more one-offs.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you see Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, his Marvel film?
No.
Okay. He has some of his Sam Raimi moments in there, but it's through the context of a Marvel film, so he's more restrained. But you might enjoy it just because it's Sam Raimi.
I may have seen it. I didn't realize he directed it, but is that the one I know
with Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yes, but is that the one where Thor and Loki are also in that one?
Maybe. I only saw it once, and there's so many Marvel films. I don't remember the storyline of it, but I remember it having some of that Sam Raimi feel to it.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
A bit slapsticky and.
I think now that you mention it, I think it is the one where Thor and Loki
That's very possible.
are in it, because there's a scene that comes to mind where
Oh, I think they are.
he's talking with Thor and, he's saying, well, I don't know where Loki is. And Doctor Strange is saying, I do. And he opens the dimension or whatever.
Yes,
and
that's
Loki
right.
falls out.
That's right.
And then he starts beacon off at Doctor Strange and he opens up another dimension and sends them there.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally. I could see that sense of humor coming through in that. And it's been a while. I probably saw that when it first came out, so it's not fresh in my mind. But
Right. So if you're really paying attention, we kind of flipped the script here because I had said my pick next episode would be Send Help, but we did Leatherface this time. So my next pick then, which was going to be this week, will be next week, is Undertone.
yes.
So if you're wanting to watch that, so you can come check out what we think about that one. If you can try and see Undertone before next episode, that'll be our next pick.
And we just wanted to mess with you. So we just gave you, different things. So there you go. Anything else to say about this one?
Nope, just really fun movie.
Yeah, go watch it.
High recommend.
Stop listening, stop watching, go watch this movie. All right. So Undertone is our next episode, and we'll see you in the aisles.